Okay, welcome everyone. It is April 30th. We have a special guest today for the Q&A, so make sure you guys ask questions, type in the chat, take your thoughts off mute, whatever it is. But we have Ashley McClellen. Do I always say that right? Okay, McClellen, 5-star elite coach, is absolutely just crushing her business. I met her last year when I moved over to the West region, and she's just super inspiring, super raw and real, but honestly just crushing it. So I thought she'd be a great guest for you guys. Actually, you guys asked for her. So here she is live, ready to answer your questions. So I'll be quiet and I'll let you guys start. Oh, actually, before we do that, Ashley, I need you to kind of tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got started with Beachbody, where you're at today, kind of do the introduction.
Okay. So I've been a coach for almost 4 years. This is so exciting. I've speaked for other teams before, but never for like leaders like you guys. Like, you guys are my people. So I've been a coach for like 4 years, and I found Beachbody like 11 years ago through an infomercial. Turbo Jam is like my soulmate starter program. Shalene Johnson like changed my life, and totally fell in love with Beachbody, but wanted absolutely nothing to do with coaching. I signed up as a coach in 2012, and I had lost 100 pounds. At that point, I had lost like 130 pounds, and signed up to be a coach because I was selling probably 15 to 20 Turbo Jam and Turbo Fires a month, just referring them to other coaches I knew. And someone referred me like, you're missing so much money. You need to sign up and be a coach. And I signed up and absolutely hated it. I was in a really, really salesy team. They did not run challenge groups. They really encouraged people to buy a challenge pack and then don't tell them Shakeology is going to auto ship. Don't tell them about the discount. Don't run them in a challenge group. If they have questions, they'll come to you. Your goal is just find as many people as you can. And I was like, that is gross. So I quit and started running. I didn't realize it was an accountability group, but I started a group for everyone who had bought Turbo Fire from me that I was like, let's just make a little Facebook group and there's a place for people to check in. Totally didn't realize I was like doing what a coach is supposed to do. But it put a really bad taste in my mouth. And in 2015, one of my best friends signed up to be a coach. And I remember telling my husband, like, oh my gosh, she's going to bang the door down. And watch, she is going to turn into this super salesy, awkward person. That's all we're ever going to hear about. We're not going to do any more play dates with her. Like, I am done with her being my friend. And she hit Emerald like that week, and which I'd been a coach. I knew what they meant. And so I was like, holy crap. And then she hit Success Starter, and then she hit Diamond. And then she started posting about how she was going. I had signed up by the time she went to Summit, but her transformation was nuts. And I was like, holy crap, I need this girl. Like I remember asking her, she is like, I remember where I was standing when you messaged me, because I messaged her and was like, I don't know what you're doing, but this isn't what Beachbody teaches you to do. I don't understand how you're making money. I don't understand how you paid off your car. I don't understand how you made enough money that you could surprise your husband by buying him his dream gun with 1 week's paycheck. Literally, I remember that post. I remember everything about that post, that I was like, I need this. I don't know what you're doing, but I love Beachbody. I just hate the coaching side, and I don't know what you're doing, but I want to learn more about it. And so I signed up and started off a little slow because I had a lot of limiting beliefs, kind of had to untrain the way that I had been trained before, and my brain struggled with that a little bit, and then got going and then slowed down, and then got going and slowed down, and would go through this like up, down, up, down, up, down thing with momentum. And it took me 2.5 years to really understand that when you have momentum, that isn't when you take your foot off the gas and ride the momentum wave. When you have momentum, you have to floor it so that it will keep going. And it took me way too long to figure that out. So in September of 2017, I did figure it out. I had some pretty good momentum going. I was officially 2-star, got my second CBC, and qualified for my first bonus and whatever. And that the day I went 2-star was the day I had my baby. And so I woke up as a 2-star, and then we drove to the hospital and I gave birth. And I just decided to hold on to the momentum I had And all of a sudden everything exploded from there. And we hit elite for the first time after having like not even any elite points in 2017. It was really sad how many elite points we did not have. And then into 2018 elite. So that's that.
Awesome. No, thank you for sharing. So you had a powerful year in 2018 since you didn't have any leaders from 2017 counting for your points.
That is correct.
Cool. Okay, I'll have questions, but I'll let you guys start. What questions do you have? Take yourself off mute, use the chat, whatever works.
I love this part. This is the best part.
What do you think has been the most motivating thing in getting your team like on board and hitting Success Club and like having that excitement that you have?
So part of it, first of all, is new blood. I was the person who was like dragging, and I didn't realize I was dragging because they always say don't drag. I didn't realize I was doing it, but I was a dragger. So getting new blood was really big. And then I didn't realize I was doing it, but I was so destitute for builders. I was the definition of an empty 2-star. Like when I hit 2-star, I was house of cards. There was no builders in there. And so once I found people who said they wanted to be builders, I was recognizing, like, you breathed correctly today. I'm so proud of you. Like, everything was like, oh my gosh, they posted on Facebook. This is great. Oh my gosh, I had someone show up for a team call. Like, I was so excited about everything because nobody did anything. And so it caught this, like, holy crap, somebody hit Success Club. Oh my gosh, look, somebody else did. Oh my gosh, look, somebody went Emerald. Like, everything just turned into this, look at all the good that's happening. And it made it so that my brain I didn't register till the year was almost over. Like, a lot of people weren't hitting Success Club consecutively. It wasn't the same people hitting, or I'd have people hit and then they would quit. And my brain didn't register like, oh, I'm losing people, because my brain was so focused on like, look, someone else did it. Look, someone else did it. Look, someone did it twice. Look, someone did hit Success Starter. Like, because I was so focused on all the good that it made the energy like, oh my gosh, I want to be there. I want that. And all the energy in my team completely shifted because I was really focused on what everyone was doing instead of focusing on pointing out what I noticed people weren't doing. Does that make sense?
What are your weekly recognition posters? Or do you do monthly posters? Just the things that you recognize? Is it just PV, just Success Club, or other things? Or like it outside of rank too?
So I started doing, originally I just started, and I didn't even have my own team page, because like when I say I didn't have anybody, I'm not kidding. So I would just go into my uplines page, which I think mentally really helped me, because I knew there were people in there who would be excited, because if I was doing it in my own page, there'd be like me and my mom in there, like nobody would be excited. And so I would go into my uplines page and shout out when they changed their first life. So when they were halfway to Emerald, and I would make a big deal about how not only were they halfway to Emerald, but they changed their first life. So I made it sound like you hit 2 milestones at once, obviously assuming they sold a challenge pack and signed them up as a coach. But like I would talk about that. Once they hit Emerald, I would do it again. Once they hit Success Club, I would do it again. So they were basically getting a shout out for every single life they changed, those first 3 lives, that were an individual shout out, that were in the team page. And then obviously when they went Emerald, I would do it on my page, but I did all of them in my stories too. And then I started doing, it took me a while, but I started doing a weekly leaderboard once I actually started having people on the board, like more than just me and 2 other people. Like once we started having 5 or 6 names, that I was like, ooh, we should start doing a board. And all I recognized was Success Club until people started like getting coaches. And I was like, shoot, I'm like leaving part of this off. I just barely added PV probably like 2 or 3 months ago. I never acknowledged who had the highest PV for the week. So now I do one weekly that just has names and I tag everybody in it. And then I update my cover photo once a week with what those who have hit Success Club, their name goes on the cover photo. So then like it gives them a push to hit earlier than the end of the month. Because if you hit on the last day of the month, your name is never on the cover photo, because the cover photo will start over again. And so that helped with my stress at the end of the month. It did not alleviate it. Today is a lovely day, and I know you guys all know that. But that helped. And then once they've officially hit Success Club, I do a graphic on the 5th of everyone who did hit, and it has their picture. So not only do they get like their name on the boards, but there's a cover, or there's a picture with, yeah, you know what I'm trying to say. So I just went as crazy as I could, but I only do leaderboards once a week. And then I do a final one at the end of the month, but the only people who go on the final one are the ones who hit Success Club. If they ended at 4, their name does not go on the month end one, because I want to put emphasis on they did hit it, not they came close and fell short. Like, not that those people get acknowledged all month, but I want people to see you need to hit it. You don't need to almost hit it. You need to hit it. So yeah.
Ashley, I love your energy. I think we should be friends.
Yes. All the friends.
All the friends. I love learning from other successful coaches where you're finding your builders. Do you find they come from customers first, or are you putting out there the business opportunity, they're coming in for the business? What's true for you?
On paper, it's both, because I do have people who start never having done a group with me, but it's so rare for one of them to be successful. My successful coaches come from my challenge group. And I start 99, more than anything, it's when I get like stressed and overwhelmed, I forget in the conversation flow to be like, and do you want to sign up for the discount, or do you? And I realize it when I'm sending the share cart that I'm like, whatever, I'll sign up as a customer and I'll talk to them later. But when I'm like paying attention, I sign up everybody as a discount coach, and I get them in. We get going in the group. I check in once a week. Tuesdays are my check-in days, and I check in and see how everybody's doing. And by week 2, week 3, when they're like, I'm down 5 pounds, my cravings are feeling great, I feel awesome, I had my first person ask me if I've lost weight, once the wins are starting to come in, then I'm like, dude, that's amazing, I'm so proud of you. You should do what I do. Have you thought about being a coach? And without fail, 100% of the time, they say, I've thought about it, but I'm afraid because da-da-da-da-da. But I've never had a single one be like, no, that never even occurred to me. Like, all of them are like, actually, yes, I'm thinking about it, but I'm scared because da-da-da-da-da. So then I answer the da-da-da-da-da, and then, hey, let's put you in a sneak peek. Let's check it out. Let's see what you think. And you're already signed up for the discount. Because you signed up for the discount, you're already set up. So it's not even going to cost you anything to start doing this with me. All we do is, if you decide you want to do this, I plug you into my Fit Boss Academy and we get you started with the training. So, but let's not jump to that yet. Let's just plug you in the sneak peek and let's see what you think. And then I check in with them 2 days later, and that's where like my pipeline comes from. So a lot of times when I get a new builder, I don't get Success Club points. The leaderboard doesn't show that I got a new coach because it's someone from last month or the month before. But they've got results. They're familiar with the challenge group. They understand the difference between a challenge group and the team page, where my new people come in and they're like, I don't understand where the team page is. And I'm like, dude, this isn't rocket science. But my challengers get it because they're familiar with the challenge group. They know, they've watched their videos with 2B or UPF or BOD or whatever. They got that piece locked down, and then they're ready to start doing Fit Boss Academy. And it's I was on my mastermind this morning. Chelsea Pearson came on, and she was saying that she doesn't let people do both at the same time. She makes them at least do the challenge group for a week. And I am like totally going to start doing that, because it's trying to explain the differences is, I feel like they get confused, they get overwhelmed, they stop. So I find all my good builders are in my challenge group. That's where I get my builders from. And I really try to encourage the activities in my challenge group. I really try to encourage the vital behaviors. So we do personal development, and we have a book of the month, and they are encouraged to do it. And we have a weekly nutrition boot camp call. I got that idea from Ashley McClellen. And so they're used to the concept of a team call, and they're used to that concept. They're used to the community. They have Zoom already, because that's where the call is. And so the only piece that's missing, which we're starting to transition into, is they're not used to posting on social media. So we're starting to add that into our group, that once a week, when because Tuesdays, like everybody talks about their Transformation Tuesday, trying to encourage them to share it on social media so that they're not so scared, so that by the time they're ready to coach, they are doing all the vitals and they didn't even realize they were doing them. So the only piece they need to add in is doing an intentional power hour. So
I love that. Just to piggyback off that a little bit too is when Danielle and Tony was on her call, she says, I treat all of my challengers like they're my top coaches. And I think that just is exactly what Ashley's saying. Like, you treat your challengers like this, they're already getting it.
Well, I think our energy is better with my energy is so much better with my challengers than with my coaches. Because in my challenge group, I'm like, oh my gosh, you posted, you did your workout after being MIA. I'm so proud of you. And with my coaches, it tends to be like, especially now that we've like hit elite and the momentum's going, now I expect them to hit Success Club. And so when they don't, then it's like, okay, what the heck is going on? Why didn't you hit Success Club? But I don't feel that way about my challengers. I don't tell my challengers like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Why haven't you worked out 7 days in a row? Like, what's going on with you? And so my energy is better towards my challengers. And the more I focus, I know some coaches are kind of heavy on the business side and some are more into the challenge group. The challenge group is my jam. That's what got me in. That's where my love is. I could spend all day in my challenge groups. And I love my coaches. Because they're like my graduated challengers. They're my challengers I get to work with more one-on-one. But when I put as much energy as I can into my challengers, that's when my team's energy is better, because people want to invite people to our challenge group because our energy in there is so great.
Ashley, I have a question. Actually, I have two. One is, when you sign people up as discount coaches from the very beginning, and then you wait for them, a couple of weeks or even a month or whatever, do you find that you're not having as many people hit Success Starter because they miss out on that first full month of hitting Success Club when you do that? Because that's my fear with getting people in as discount coaches, is then they lose the ability to hit Success Starter, which is my goal with new coaches.
So I totally had that fear last year, that I was like, I might have to change my tactic. And I wasn't even thinking about Success Starter, because last year Success Starter wasn't a thing. I was just thinking about that +1 thing, because you need 5 of those for elite. And so I was like, I don't even know how I'm going to get that, because I sign everyone as a discount coach. And I remember talking to Micah because Micah's my 2 upline, Micah Folsom. And I was like, I think I'm going to have to change my whole strategy. She's like, dude, stop. You're overcomplicating. # that's so me. The national wake up call this week was like, oh my gosh, I needed that. I complicate everything. And so Micah was like, dude, don't complicate it. Don't complicate it. You will find 5 over the course of a year. Don't complicate it. And so what I found was, as long as I was intentional about inviting them to the business, they were still falling in that +1 category. They may not have hit, I think I only had 2 Success Starters last year. But I had a lot that at least changed one life in their first full month, because they knew about the business, and they knew because I had invited them to the business by then. So I just have to be super intentional at inviting them to the business about the 2-3 week mark is what I found.
My second question is, do you have an assistant that helps do all of your graphics and all of these things? Are you doing that on your own? And at what point in your business did you decide to do it, if you do?
So I did hire an assistant, but it took me a really long time. And my upline, Jalen Barnes, was Lovell. I don't know what her last name is. I think it's Lovell. She was like, it's about freaking time. It took me so long to hire an assistant. So she does my graphics, my leaderboards, but I do my Success Club one with their pictures, because I know what they look like. So I like going to look for their best picture, because rather than their most recent one or what they have as their profile picture, I know what they actually look like. So I do the end of the month one, but she does all my weekly ones. And then I'm actually at the point now that she does the majority of my power hour. So she does my connections and she initiates my invites. And then once they reply back, I take over. So I continue the conversation. If it's a connection about their birthday, I do messages, and I do birthday messages rather than commenting on their wall. So I continue that conversation. If she asks them for info and they whether they say yes or no, I'm the one that continues the conversation. And then I do all my own follow-ups. And then because Ashley Molstad said, I have a girl crush on her. She said in one of our masterminds that she does not have enough hours in the day to do everything. And she would rather put her time and energy into her coaches and customers and let her assistant handle the funnel, because she didn't want to, she still wants to be a mom and she still wants to have time for Rev. And so that's totally how I feel. I would rather let my assistant get the ball rolling, and then I take over at getting to know them and helping dial in on their goals and checking in on them and being that one-on-one person, and take over from there so that I still have time to be a mom. So my assistant helps with that. And then I hired her, you asked that and I totally skipped over that. I think I was a 4-star by the time I finally bit the bullet and signed her up. It was a year ago right now is when I got her, and it was great. It was great. I'm pretty similar to the Kate style when it comes to invites. If they're watching, except I don't send anywhere near as many as Kate. She's a boss. I send 10 a day. So 50 a week, 200 a month, 2,500 a year. And that has been great for me. So, because I was doing 0 a year and a half ago. So, and I was very much based off of attraction marketing and waited for people to come to me. So sending 10 a day, 2,500 a year that's a heck of a lot better than attraction marketing. So, or at least the attraction marketing I was doing. There are people like Ashley Smith who hit SC 9 million with attraction marketing. But I do, if they're watching my stories, they're fair game. Everyone who watches my stories gets an invite. So that's who I invite. You guys have good questions.
Okay, I have a question more on your social media strategy. Call to actions, your posts and stuff like that. Is it only for the challenge group, or do you talk about coaching? Do you talk about both? Are you strategic about talking about both? What's your social media strategy?
So I definitely talk about both, because that was something I noticed I was doing wrong when I was in my start, stop thing. I never talked about the business unless it was the day before a sneak peek. And then I was like, how come I never get any builders? Well, because you never talk about the business. # duh. So I talk about the business 3 times a week, and I try to talk about it every single day in my stories, whether I'm doing a team call or I'm sitting down to work, or I'm talking about how I fit it in, or I'm talking about an upcoming trip, or I'm talking about a training that I have access to, or something I'm creating for my team, or something that's I'm picking my outfit for when I speak on stage at the event before summit, or whatever. I try to find ways to bring it up in my stories every day. And more than anything, like I said, it does get me people who want information about the business from the start. But I'm doing it with the mindset I want my coaches to see it so that they are reminded what is possible, what they're doing, whatever. And I'm doing it for my challengers because I'm planting the seed. The seed is planted, and we are pouring Miracle Grow on it on my challengers, because I'm about to invite them to the sneak peek. And so I do it for my challengers and my coaches. And then when I get a random person, that's gravy on top, but I'm doing it for my coaches and my challengers. And I'm trying to do a marketing calendar like Kate talked about in the Super Weekend video, where I have a block that I'm trying to invite to a challenge group, and then I have a block I'm trying to invite to a sneak peek, but I haven't been great at it. So, but that's what I try to do is I talk about both, but I try to keep the call to action based around which one is coming, so that they're both getting sprinkled, but they're jabs, and then the right hook comes depending on my marketing calendar.
Okay, guys, any other questions? Well, I have one more. So what can you tell us about being in the MM100 test group?
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. It's amazing. So Jericho is great. I always loved her. Coeur de Force is one of my favorite programs. This just stole the cake on like the best program Beachbody has. It is, you can't beat less than 30 minutes. And the diversity in the moves is amazing, because there's never a day that you're like, I have yet to have a day that I'm like, oh my gosh, I hate this day, because they're all, and I love Shanti. I had days like that in Transform 20. I was like, oh freaking heck, it's faster. But I love every day of MM100, and the results, you're sore every day, even with Recover. Like, our sales on Recover are going to skyrocket because no one is going to be able to walk without it. And she finds a good way to do moves you've never seen before, combined with moves you've seen before, without it being complicated, but everything hurts when you're on fire and you were using a 3-pound dumbbell and that was only 17 minutes. How did you do that? Like, she finds it, and it's doable. Everything is so positive, and everybody in the cast is like super awesome and inspiring, and there's an awesome modifier, and there's a modifier of the modifier, and everybody's in the same screen. So it's not like, oh, I have to admit that I need a modifier and I have to turn on the modifier like in Transform 20. You can see them all at the same time, and at any given point, everyone in the cast will have to modify something, because she's pushing you that hard and it's that challenging. So there's never any like guilt or negative feelings about having to modify, because she's encouraging you to modify because you're pushing so hard. And the options are, they're good modifications. Like, you're still dead if you're modifying, but it's the right amount of positivity that you're trying to push and not just follow the modifier the whole time. Like, it's just the perfect marriage of kill me, but I can do this and I can't wait to show up again tomorrow. Like, it's so great. It's so great. You guys are going to love it.
Oh my gosh, I just got so excited for it too.
It's so great.
Okay, any other questions? We good for today?
Ash, can I just ask you really quick, what you go over with your nutrition call every week that you said you did with your challenge group?
Yes. So it originally started that we called it our nutrition boot camp call. And it occurred to me the other day that I was like, we don't even talk about nutrition half the time. Maybe I should change the name. But we talk about what I'm noticing they're struggling with, or things that I'm noticing. This past week, I'm a little slow on the uptake. We've done 11 of them now. So this past week, it occurred to me, like, you know what? My coaches are really struggling with their mean girl, and they are coming into the threads and saying all these like, oh my gosh, I suck at everything, and I haven't sent my invites in 4 days, and guys, I suck, and I know, and I'm so sorry, but I have a question. And then I'm like, I called out one of my coaches the other day that I was like, you know what? I'm so sick of everybody coming into the threads and saying that. Flip it. If you were to come into the thread and I said, dude, Cheyenne, you suck. You haven't sent your invites in 4 days. I can't even believe you came in here and asked a question. But what's your question? Everyone would be like, oh, I can't believe Ashley just said that. That was so rude. And Cheyenne would never ask me a question ever again. And I would get a coach cancellation like tomorrow. Like, everyone would hate that. But it's okay if you do it to yourself. And it's okay if you're negative and mean to yourself. And then I noticed my challengers were doing it, and my challengers were coming into the group and were like, I suck and I haven't worked out in 3 weeks, but I started Transform 20 Lift 4 hybrid today and it was so hard, but I did it. And then I'm like, none of that first part should be there. Everything should just be, I'm so proud of myself that I showed up, and Sean and Joel kicked my butt, but I showed up and I'm so proud of myself. And so that's what last week's Nutrition Bootcamp call was about. Was things that I really want my coaches to hear, because my coaches get on my nutrition bootcamp call, but it would also benefit my challengers because I'm grooming my challengers to be coaches. So we do talk about nutrition things sometimes, whether it's additional tips above and beyond what they cover in 2B and UPF, like meal planning for dinner. For some reason, my people struggle so bad with the containers and dinner that I'm like, Autumn says this, you plug in your dinner first, because being prepared isn't half the battle, it is the battle. Like, that's what Autumn says, but my people hear it from me and they're like, oh my gosh, that was so insightful. But I'm like, apparently you're not watching UPF, because Autumn says it like every day. But like, we've done one about how to plug in your dinner first and then plan the rest of your day so that you have the right containers left at dinner. Or but a lot of them are focused on mindset, because that is so my jam. I love personal development. I love affirmations. I love, like I said, focusing on like energy. And I know I have good energy towards my challengers. So I can say something that is telling them like, guys, you've got to stop doing this. And it will come across in a nice way when I say it to my challengers. Or if I say it to my coaches, sometimes my energy gets weird. So we do a lot of stuff about that. So we've done trainings about tips on like Miracle Morning, because I'm a big fan of Miracle Morning. And we've done tips on this next week. We actually decided last night, I wrote it down, what we were going to talk about, because I forgot. We're going to do one about belief. I was talking to my sister about this, that it drives me crazy when people are like, you're so motivated. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm disciplined. Like, that's how we show up all the time. We're disciplined. We're not motivated. We have days we don't feel like doing it, but we do it anyway. And I was saying this to my sister, who is not a coach, and she was like, you know what, that's true, but you got in the habit first. Like, you can say that because you're disciplined now, but like, you got in the habit. And so I was telling my coaches, like, that's so true. We need to figure out how to tell our challengers that. And they were like, well, it's all about belief. Like, if you believe it will work, you do it. And then you do it so consistently that you want to keep showing up. And if you buy new workout clothes and you give yourself a reward, like, those things help build the habit. And then you keep going, not because you're motivated, but because you're disciplined. And if you have the accountability, like, that's what we're talking about next week, about how you have to believe this is going to work so that you've got the right attitude about it. Because, and the same thing goes for the business. It doesn't matter how many connections and invites and follow-ups and posting and whatever someone does. If they don't believe it's going to work, it's not going to work. And if it doesn't matter that someone's pushing play every day and they're drinking their shake and they're using their containers, if they don't believe that that is going to help them lose weight, they're not going to lose weight, or it's going to be super slow. And so we're like talking about the belief, and then giving yourself built-in rewards that aren't around food. That, you know, if I work out 2 weeks following the calendar, I'm going to take myself to get a pedicure, or I'm going to buy a new sports bra, or I'm going to take myself to get a new pair of shoes when I finish my program, or building in those habits or building in those rewards that help create the habits. And then being really accountable and building relationships in the accountability groups so that you have friends, that it's not just a place for strangers, but that you have friends in there that you notice when they're not there, they notice when you're not there. And that's what creates the discipline to keep going. And then hashtag, that's also what creates a freaking bomb coach, because those are all the things that make a good coach. So we do a lot of stuff like that in my nutrition bootcamp calls. And I clearly am not a short-winded person, but I work really hard on my nutrition bootcamp calls to not ever let the recording be longer than 20 minutes, because we do them really early in the morning and not very many of my people can get on live. So almost all of them watch the recording. And I know from experience as a coach, if I get on and see that a team call recording is an hour, I am dragging my feet to watch that. And I have it on while I'm distracted and I'm not paying attention. But if I log on and see that like I missed something and it's only 15 minutes, I can pay attention for 15 minutes. So we really try to keep them short and jam as much information in there. And then if it's something that they're like, that was helpful, I want more, then we'll do like a round 2 and we'll go into it again on a deeper dive in another call. And yeah, did that help? I feel like I just went in circles. Did that help? Yeah, okay.
Great. Well, thank you so much. We're about out of time. We really appreciate you. I would say what I've noticed from the network, like standing back, listening to a lot of calls, is everyone's paying attention to their challengers. I've heard that time and time and time again. So ask yourself, am I paying attention to my challengers? Am I giving them the best experience that I could possibly get them? Because if they fall in love with a challenger, they're going to be here for the rest of their life. So thank you, Ashley, so much. We appreciate it. Thank you, everyone else. And I'll see you guys next week. Bye.